blessing to be alive. That is the first thing I like to show in the morning. Show gratitude for having an opportunity. All right, and I take topics that mastermind members go through. Things that we experience as a team, and from there, today I wanted to talk about the leverage doctrine. And one of the things is that we talked about sometimes working smarter, not harder. I'm gonna share my screen real quick while we are actually getting started. We talked about working harder. Working smarter, not harder. And a lot of times it's about leverage, right? And so the market, it doesn't pay you about being, in front of the screen. You don't get show up like a job and get paid. Um, you get paid for actually having a process and a system over a period of time. And that is just a reminder that the quality of our trades, are researched, and one of the most important times is the not the grinding but the actual execution. And so trade selection is a edge. You know, um, right? We talk about the tourist and the operator. Instead of saying calling us traders, there's some people that just jump in and they're taking a tour of the market. Some people are grinding, staring at the charts, um, you know, taking any setups that look good, over trades, and have low conviction ideas. And then the operator is defining strict pre-market criteria for 9 and 10 setups, right? Set up strong, callous, order flow confirmation, using a checklist of saying that here's my criteria, and this is the criteria I'm looking for, right? Which is giving you high quality trades. And so that's one of the biggest leverages that you have is selecting from a high quality checklist. And so it's not about the screen time or the amount of trades, it is about the quality, right? And the higher having high expectations. So the win rate and reward to risk, right, improve because you play high edge situations. And this thinking happens before the open, right? And so that is one of the things that new traders, they look at, what trade is available instead of a high quality trade that meets their criteria. That is actually um, working smarter, when it comes to the market. Also, a big thing is eliminating the bad trades. So when we talk about more is, you know, less is more. I actually that's what actually created this mindset call this morning is that less isn't really more. If you take less trades, you still got to take high quality trades. So really, less bad trades is more. When it comes to trading, the reason why you trade less is that you're eliminating more bad trades. It doesn't matter to trade less if you're still having the same criteria, right? If your criteria hasn't changed and you're still taking less bad quality trades, right? It doesn't matter that you trade less. It only matters if you're eliminating the negative trades that you've taken in the past, meaning that the low quality trades. So execution and automation layer is the next section of leverage, right? Being glued to the screen 8 to 14 hours on a trade is not high quality, right? The things that you can automate, so you don't have to watch 8 to 14 hours. The things that you can implement and use technology for that's helping you automate some of the time you're spending. That is the leverage through systems, right? So, the goal is to minimize the amount of hours that you have to work, right, to get higher quality trades. That is how you improve when it comes to using the leverage. So building an automation for scanning or the alerts or the execution, the bracket orders, using indicators to, build indicators that's going to help you eliminate the negative trades, right? That is the leverage through systems. So the goal is not to work, not to see less, is actually to see more to get higher quality trades. So, you designing a system that executes and minimizes your screen time and your consistency rises. That is what the automation is for. Instead of spending, if you have a person spending 17 hours on building tools, and it's not improving the quality of the trades or the selection, right? You want things that's going to help your consistency rise. So this is kind of the mindset of a person who's been in the market 5 years, 10 years. It is that I'm not trying to eliminate time. I'm trying to create better tools that minimize my screen time and minimize bad trades. So, a good system, good automation, or a good design replaces thousands of hours of the grind, right? And that is when we talk about, working smarter in trading, is not to, you know, um, we had mentioned like, oh, taking less is more. Well, it's actually taking less negative trades or less low quality trades is actually more, spending less time in the market is actually creating better tools that identify and create a better process. So, that is one of the goals and the leverage of the mastermind is that, what tools are helping you minimize negative trades, right? So by default, you take less trades, but you're taking less bad trades, right? And then the pre-trade thinking and risk architecture, right? If we jump in because it's moving, then you fight the trade emotionally when it goes against you. So now you're actually jumping into a fight that you're actually fighting real hard, right? The operator, the person is, you know, uh, you're running a fast scenario, right? We're using AI to, exercise, for instance, our scoreboard right before, so we can actually understand the bull, the base, and the bear probability, and we identify hard and validation levels. There's a lot of things that look good, but if we don't have a process to eliminate it, right? Eliminate the probable, or the 5 and 6 trades, right? Um, that is going to help us decide the exit before the entry. And so that's the pre-trade thinking and risk architecture is to eliminate the bad trades, eliminate low quality trades, right? Most hard work in trading is recovering from low quality decisions. That's a big revelation, right? The harder you work in trading. So, actually I've been in a coin position all week, right? And that coin position is it was a low quality decision. It requires me to work harder by watching it every day and now identifying, you know, so if I only took the high quality trades, right, high quality decisions, right, the better pre-trade thinking eliminates the recovery work entirely. So that's one of the ways that, identifying, and removing the low quality trades, it removes all the high effort for the recovery work, right? The constantly checking and improving. So that's a mindset, right? The review and improvement process, right? Inside the position profit method, right? I had a tool to help them evaluate their positions, right? And that is, trying to minimize and improve the process before the end of the day, right? It's not just the P&L at the end of the day. It's not that, hey, I feel good about this trade or bad based on a number. It's actually installing a process that helps our edge compound, right? And so the small improvements in process and quality create large improvements in results. And so that's a middle equivalent, right? If I can actually minimize the stress at the end of the day and have a higher quality review process, right? Then I can ask myself, did I follow the process? And what did the catalyst and the order flow, what is it actually doing? And so it updates if I want to hold that position based on rules, not feelings, right? And that is a improvement. The same way intraday, right? Actually having a process we can run intraday. And those are some of the scripts that we have in a 30-minute process. It's like, what can I run intraday that helps me minimize outcome? So, like, two positions I've been holding all week as well is like Baba and Futu, right? And running the process, it allows me to hold in the money. And, that's a process improvement where now, 4 or 5 positions I can actually make the right decision on, right? And so, right, your income is 100% tied to personal screen time and capital, right? And so the ability to, um, what I'm saying, the ability to document a process and share, right, is actually having a system that is teaching and thinking and is already built. So like the more that you can share information. So, we create these, we have mastermind members creating reports or sharing their process is actually um, creating a income stream and save screen time and also being able to produce and leverage one another. So the more people that's producing reports in the mastermind, like we are copying and pasting and taking that, and that's one way that you're actually saving time, which actually reduces screen time, which is creates incomes in other places. So if we had to implement a 30-day implementation plan, right? What is in week one, you write down your high criteria selection. Like what is the non-negotiable high conviction criteria that you want to be able to, um, you know, stick to, right? Being able to stick to a high conviction criteria that, hey, I'm only going to trade things that meet this high quality, or which in reality will save you screen time, save you recovery time. You won't work as hard, right? If you can stick to that high level criteria, and then building a pre-market scan, right, an alert system. So that's one of the things that for me, I have a notepad, right? I'll go through my um, scripts that I like to write and have a pre-market plan is already here that already have. This is analyze the pre-market report, current news headlines. So I already have a script, right, for the pre-market intraday or earnings, right? I already have a script for the earnings. So if I want to review the earnings, one of the earning plays that we had talked about yesterday, it's saying that we would have a big move and a 70 calls was AEHR, right? This work was done on the weekend, gapping up from 70 to 90. We knew we were expecting at least a 10% move. Taking a 70 call or 70 put was going to, produce a high leverage trade, right? And so that is the pre-market, that is the weekend, the Sunday, and then also live scanning alerts, right? A pre-trade scenario plan for every candidate, track whether you actually follow it. So another thing that we implemented was the position um, position profit method, where there was going to be a couple of trades like Amazon, uh, like Google, and Nvidia. And coming into this week, we knew that was going to be strong, or you was going to be able to hold for a certain period of time. And these were trades that you had predefined. So Amazon was, one of the top trades this week that I wanted to have at 245 and above 250. So I'm going over the actual, things that we're looking at. Um, and then your first structured edge audit. Identify the 1 or 2 high leverage improvements that you can make. Right. And so this is kind of a rotation that you repeat every week or every month that you're trading. You go through these scenarios, which compounds of, I'm not trying to trade more. I'm trying to eliminate and have a better system. So it is to think better so the trading you do is higher quality and life around it improves. So taking a higher quality trades, right, automatically reduces your screen times, have you working smarter because you have all the checks that are getting automated and designing a better system. So when we talk about trust the process, right, it's a process that you have that you can refine. So the people that spend a year or 2 years in the market, it is really designed to continuously upgrade, right, with the technology, to continue to upgrade the screening, understanding your high conviction trades. And, that's every hour spent grinding the tape is an hour not spent building the thing that removes the need to grind the tape. So a lot of our time is spent, improving the process or improving the criteria. So the trades that we take that we have to work hard on, how do we minimize the time is by building a better system, right? And that's making an investment and collects leverage over years, right? The tourist does the same thing with no improvement, no system, no design process that helps it get better. So when someone asks me about the alerts and like, hey, can you go over the alerts, right? It's like you go over the alerts once. The second time, it is like, all right, what system do you have for the alerts? So when I look at my, and I added more, and I have alerts, right, that are actually going through, right? I can click these alerts to buy loan, right? It should give me a better loan signal, right? The breakout on ES right now. These are alerts that are happening, that's triggering, right, automatically. So now I can actually just go through the alerts, whether it's pre-market or afternoon. I know NVIDIA is on the uptrend. Now I got an AMD alert, right, that's going into resistance. I had an AI alert this morning, and so I can actually identify these levels and see, which alerts are looking positive, right? So pre-market, I got an inflow of AI that's holding above $9. This is an alert system, right? On the earnings for J&J, they actually dropped, but they've been trending up. And so you actually have positive numbers. And so now I know that, hey, this is towards support on a earnings play that they gapped down, but it was also oversold, right? And so Futu, right, alerting this morning at 1 o'clock. This is one that I'm holding. I can see the resistance here at 100, but we're on the uptrend, right? So these are things I can identify with a system that I have to go through the alerts that are automatically triggered. So at 1 o'clock this morning, Baba gapped up. This was a hold that we've been holding inside the mass, for the last week. And it has news with Apple AI tools, right? Getting an update in China with a gap up. So this is going to be a continued hold because I had a target above 115 yesterday. And if it hit above 115, the next target is 120, which it hit pre-market. And I want to see if it's going to bust through that early this morning, right? So these are systems that's there to save us time, right? Some of the reports I have, they're going to run automatically through Claude, right? Which saves me time. So the NVIDIA setup that I was looking at for all week, right? I'm going to be able to update this, right? We had CPI yesterday, key levels for the day. We have them here that they've already gapped up. I had Tesla at 400, which was looking at, right? And this is me waking up and then it says, hey, you know what? I can just say update. All right. So this way I have this. I have a process now that saves me time, right? And I have a um, ability to, right? PBI just dropped 20 minutes ago. I wanted to run in the last 10 minutes. Live market reaction time. This is that if I don't have, any access, I have a process that I can get the information, you know, ASAP, and it will go through and search um, the market, right? Because I have a weekly plan, and today I'm just giving it the date and time. In the last 10 minutes, give me an update, which is going to update everything that was here, and give me a additional input, which saves me time, saves me screen time, that makes my criteria better, right? I've already, I pretty much already know that when the market opens, right, I'm gonna be focused on trades I'm currently in, and it's gonna give me an opportunity to add more, but this also gives me an opportunity to add, a high level trade if I want it. So that is the work smarter, not harder, or take less trades is more, is actually to eliminate and um, focus on a process that gives you higher quality trades and improves your performance, which also improves your life, right? So far less screen time and decision fatigue, right? The less I trade, the less fatigue I have, the better sleep I get, right? The better health and energy I have, right? And so trading becomes a high leverage activity, not a demanding job. Time returned to the family, other businesses, deep thinking, rest actually helps me in trading. Reduce stress. The less trades I take, the less stress I'm going to have, right? And then now I'm not tied to every tick, right? And then income survives the days you choose not to trade. So if I decided not to trade today, and I have Baba and Putu, and I'm expecting coin to move up, right? I'm expecting coin to move up, but now I'm in a trade and I have a move up with crypto is going into um, resistance. But I know here that the 165 level is a resistance area that if it breaks above it, right? I might be able to hold in all day and wait to the end of the day before I make a decision, right? And so, high leverage trades actually make you work less, right? And then you have higher expenses per trade, better setups, right? Significantly lower drawdowns as low conviction trades drops. So holding NVIDIA, right, above the 205 level, and now, it moves up more, right? And this is saying that, hey, now I'm focused on less trades, right? I'm looking at less, so that means that I can make a better decision. And that's where, not the less trading, but the better criteria and the more automation I've had will allow me to get better trades. I'm trying to see where the update, because I'm sure it just ran. I don't know where is that. I can't pull up too many screens, but let me get back to all right. So how does it directly make more money? Better edge is fewer trades. That means higher profit per trade and faster compounding. Fewer losing periods. So when you have less trades and low quality trades, you're gonna have capital reserve and your compounds instead of being rebuilt after drawdowns. Right? Multiple revenue streams mean that with more time, you're gonna generate income without daily screen time. So by default, you make more money by trading, having less effort is spent in the market. Right? The hours you reclaim go into building systems that pay you while you sleep. Right? And this is right. I do not get paid for hours. I get paid for an edge. So the goal is to not have a grind as a badge, but to use the tools to have a better system and design a better process. So when it comes to the position profit or the battle map or the Swing Master Pro, it is all designed right to help you. And so getting better sleep and spending less time, I can listen to Barry Parker and have better, decision making and hold a little bit longer when my mental energy isn't all over the place, right? And that's the architecture, and that is a part of this mindset day. And then I actually created a entire different mindset call, right, designed to what trade less actually means, right? Remove every trade with negative expectations, right? The right, you had an automation ladder. What do you want to automate? Right, the scanning, the alerts, right, the catalyst and news agents, and that's something I was just showing with my claw design. Let's see, where is that? I got too many screens open this morning, so I was having something else. All right. So with that being said, let me see one thing in this document. Inside the mastermind, the teaches forces clarity, right? You cannot explain a rule you do not actually have. So, every person in the mastermind is actually, should be teaching or sharing what they have, because that is one of the most important, steps, is the act of documenting the system and defining a process. So imagine having to teach it every day. You would actually have to be able to explain it clearly, right? And that creates better results for yourself. So the grinder life, don't place emphasis on sleep, right? Um, if you can sleep cleanly through your trades, right? You position your size is good, right? If you have, your family life improves if you off the desk and you're not actually, checking the market constantly, right? Your energy, right? You actually have, 2 hours, 3 hours that you can actually dedicate because you're not, cheating and spending way too much time. All of this is designed to make you more money, right? And that is eliminate, right? Targeting a low trade count, right? You're not just targeting a low trade count. You basically are targeting negative trades that have cost you in the past, right? So you're trying to minimize the negative trades and the low quality trades you've taken, right? And that is not trading less; it's trading actually higher quality trades. So I earned the right to think by working. Effort was the entry fee. I paid it. I will not surrender the payout by grinding. Right? I will not just grind it out all the time. I'm going to develop a system, and that is the thinking and the mindset. And that's the one I wanted to share this morning. Is we're not trying to grind it out to success. We're trying to architect a better process, look at better dark pool information, better catalysts, being able to track the news easier, to actually give you higher quality setups, consistently. So that is the mindset for the day. Is I'm not trying to work less. I'm actually trying to create a better system that automatically frees up time and give me higher conviction trades that by default makes me more money. All right. On that note, let me share this document with you guys here before we hop off. I always like to give up document. See if I can share it real quick so you can save it. I got mindset. All right, which is here. I'll give you guys 30 seconds to save it. I'm gonna get back to my process for the morning. I share some reports, read the comments in the WhatsApp, and be up going about our day, having a good day today. I'll see you guys on my call in what was that? Maybe an hour and a half from now, 7:30. All right. I see you guys. Architect a better process, design a better system. By default, you're gonna make more money. That is the message. Peace out, y'all.